It's the river walking me Tierra, jamming out with Bongo Joe. The stories of the Minger Hotel and the Alamo. You remember the Alamo? It's another burrito. It's a cold Lone Star in my hand. It's a quarter for the jukebox boy. Play the sons of the mother-loving motel band.
Hey, good morning, America. Welcome to Texas, South Texas TV studios. Thrilled to be with you on a Friday morning. The Wade and Carter program, as I represent Ash, is out today. Little Gary P. Nunn, my friend Gary P. Nunn, knew Gary P. when he was a much younger man in Austin, Texas. Was blessed to see him at a Bluebonnet Youth Ranch function. He came and gave back to the great Claude Jacobs. We walked into a picking party after a concert one night, and this man walked up, and he ain't big as a minute, like Jose Altuve, got his little scarf around his neck, playing the whole Gary P. Nunn role, walked up, slapped me on the back of the head, and said, "Hello, Carter. How you been?" Hadn't seen him in 30 years. Great guy. Wonderful performer, and to a degree, kind of a one-hit wonder. I mean, he's got some hits, but he ain't no George Strait. But he's legit. This is a wonderful song. Welcome into the studio, South Texas TV studios. On behalf of Ash, I welcome you. I'm Brent Carter, your host today. Thrilled to be here. Welcome to Magic 95.9 FM. Those of you that just got off the line with the great Bill Posey. He had Emmett Alvarez in today. Love them both. Great folks. Good morning, Mark Kurtz. There's Janie Alvarez. She bled over. She felt sorry for me. Came over to support me after listening to Emmett. She wants to get it right. Deep in her heart, Janie's a Republican. She's stuck over there with Emmett, America's Democrat. I told people I have a lot more in common with Emmett Alvarez these days politically than I do most Republicans. The gutless bunch that they tend to be. There's a handful of folks that can think conservatively and act logically. Most of them are not Republicans anymore. It's kind of sad. It's a sad time. But lots to talk about today. You might think that there's not much to talk about because Ash isn't here to carry Brent through the show. I hear the grumblings. I hear the remarks. I'm like Captain Queeg. I've got those little metal balls. I know they're talking about me. I know they are. And you know what? I don't care what you say about me as long as you talk about me. We don't care. There is no bad publicity. I learned that a long time ago. Call me a racist. Give me a platform to explain that I'm not, and let's have a good time together. Because I promise you, I can explain what I believe in with no fear. Greg Garcia, good morning. Stephanie Conti says, good morning. How many aliases do you have? I don't know what that means, but it made me smile. The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerland Feed. Full week. Mr. Posey, thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Always great to see my friend, the Navy SEAL. I'm scared to death of that man. 78 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of only 100. I was in West Columbia yesterday, had to go over to Houston, and came back around to watch Caden's football team have a scrimmage with West Columbia. By the way, listen. Yep, that's West Columbia. They're still scoring on the Cobras. Unbelievable. 4A program really dropped the hammer on the JV. Like 9 touchdowns. Crazy to watch. Fast and furious. Lots of athletes. West Columbia, beautiful area. It's just, it doesn't seem anything at all like Victoria. Moss hanging off the trees, lots of water, pockets of water. Swampy a little bit. Reminds you a little bit of South Louisiana. Very, very pretty area. Highly recommended if you have a chance to get over that direction. But I digress. The weather, 78 degrees, heading to a high of 100 today. Sunny skies all day. The thing about yesterday was it was 107 on my truck thermometer. Now, was it 107? I don't know, but it's all relative, right? I mean, right now it says it's 82, 78. It was a full 30 degrees hotter than it was, or than it is right now. I'll share with you, I visited with some folks there. The way the sun was going down, we stood in the shadow of the restrooms, leaning against a fence, and we talked about the difference between 100 degrees and, say, 103 degrees. And one of the gentlemen there said, man, it is noticeable. People's tempers, their shortness with each other, their attitudes. I think we all have to be cognizant and conscious that we're probably on edge. I know that I'm guilty. I can raise my hand. I have a rough day at work. I can take it through the doors at the house. Now, Dawn won't have it. So I'm lucky that T-Lat reins it in and says, that's it. I don't want to hear any more about it. It won't be that hard today because it's Friday. We've got a full slate for the weekend, but downtime is something I don't have. I'm a person that I will end up burning out. I won't rust out. I mean, I've already outlived Elvis by 18 years. What else do you want from me? But at the same time, you've got to let it go. And the heat, the incessant lack of comfort outside. You go get in your neighbor's swimming pool. We don't have a swimming pool. The best pool is your neighbor's pool. Now, I've got one neighbor that invites me over all the time. Chandler's. I go over there and just get in their pool. Welcome. There's a house between us. And if I go to Charlie's pool, sometimes he runs me out. He'll say, what are you doing in my backyard? Where's your swimsuit? I'm like, me and Dom are just frolicking. I don't know. Wouldn't say stingy, just doesn't appear to enjoy it as much as we do. So I go to the Chandlers more than anywhere, but the pool will be a legitimate 90 degrees. It's worse than bathwater. It's not comfortable. Stephanie Conti trying to bring some value early. Biden, as vice president, was communicating with 4 aliases, and Hunter was carbon copied on those emails with like Ukraine, Russia, don't know who all with. Yeah, very interesting. Leads me into, I didn't just randomly read that. I read that because it leads me into one of my top stories. Find it interesting just because there is really no two-tier justice. Everybody gets the same shake in the United States. The judge has dismissed Hunter Biden's tax charges. You may recall Hunter Biden, Joe's remaining son, the one who married his favorite son's widowed wife. They went on a crack binge together, spent some money from Ukraine together, the Burisma funds, forgot to pay those taxes. No way he would know. I mean, his dad's the VP of the United States. He didn't know. Plus, he wasn't in his right mind, and he was out buying weapons illegally and doing videos and underage girls on the internet and stuff. No big deal. It's equitable justice. There's like nothing to see here. It's all good. The judge decided that his tax evasion charges, let's just get rid of those. Too much trouble. Hunter's just trying to get his life together. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Hunter Biden's 53 years old. We all look at Hunter. Be honest. You look at Hunter and you're like, boy, Joe, that kid's out of college now. It's time for him to step up and grow up. Hunter Biden has a grown daughter. He also has a daughter that Joe Biden doesn't acknowledge. The close, good Catholic family, they've never embraced that daughter. Her mama was a stripper. So they're not close. Doesn't suit them politically or help their crime syndicate family. True stories, folks. Good morning, Roy Gutierrez, Torrin Bales, Kendra Douglas, Bobby Leister, Patricia Nagel. Astros update coming in a minute. Linda Christ, yes. By the way, folks, if you have time this morning, whether you believe in it or not, you might be surprised how good it makes you feel. Offer up a quick prayer for Rob, for Junior Samples, having a kidney stone removed this morning at the VA in San Antonio. I'm not a doctor. I'm not bound by HIPAA. The man's got a kidney stone. It's been bothering him for months. He went in, I think Linda's going to have it made into a pendant. But he's in surgery right now, so prayers up for Rob. We love you, brother. Get well. Ricky Champagne King, Scott Tomko, Scott Snow, Mark Kurtz. Mark, type me a little update. In the world of scrimmages where there are no winners and there are no losers, did Industrial win the scrimmage yesterday? Janie Alvarez, Diane Tippett, Steph Connie, we talked about that. Greg Garcia, Andy Rokovich. Good morning, Andrew. Had Emmett Alvarez was on the other radio program. If you want to call me, you feel free. Tom Price, Amanda Smith King. A great group live on the video. Many more checking in on South Texas TV, which is a free app on the Roku channel. Go check it out. I've been impressed. It's a platform that's going to grow, and it's free to you with your smart TV. Very good stuff. You see where yesterday it's being reported that a drone strike occurred in Moscow in Russia, Ruski land, Moscow. A drone came over, and the way Russia's reporting it, their aerial defense system found it, and it diverted from a residential area to land on a government building. If I'm reading that without the propaganda, Ukraine successfully flew a drone into a Russian government building. Fairly loud and smoky explosion, but no real casualties and no huge damage. So I think Ukraine is sending a message, hey, we can get to you. What I find interesting is Ukraine doesn't develop drones. That's our drone. The U.S. is aiding Ukraine in droning Russia. You just keep poking the bear. Would it surprise any of you, really? Which would surprise you more? That one morning Vlad Putin wakes up, has an itch, just drops a low-grade nuke, little missile. 5 minutes later, boom. Ukraine, Kyiv, gone. People dead. Would that surprise you more, or would it surprise you more that the United States wouldn't do a thing? Which is it? I'll tell you the difference. The difference is if Donald Trump is in office, Russia doesn't contemplate the missile because they know that Trump would feel obligated to do something. In Russia, Putin's like, Biden's still trying to learn how to ride a bike. If I want to nuke Ukraine, tell him to come on over to Eastern Europe and let's party. And he knows that the U.S. is gutless. Do you ever think you grew up in a country that I could term as gutless and it doesn't offend you? It's the truth. Gutless. No principles, no morals, no moral compass. Good morning, H.R. Mallory. Great to see you, my brother. Hope you're safe out there on the road. Folks, you get pulled over by a trooper and his last name is Mallory, make sure you tell him that you listen to the Wade and Carter program. I ain't saying that's like no 100 club where it's like a get out of jail free card. I'm just saying it sure won't hurt you to have something in common to talk about. Peter McNally, always there with free fodder. Are Roman Catholic families supposed to be immune from being bad actors? Boy, is that a straight line or what, Father Pete? See you at the confessional. Why would you bring that into your comments? I'll bring that into my comments because the hypocrisy of the left has always been its telltale sign. Doesn't mean the right isn't loaded with hypocrites. It means that nothing screams hypocrisy like saying, I'm a Democrat. You can count on me. Joe Biden, you may recall, talked about being a good Catholic boy, just a good Catholic family, as he talks about gay marriage in a favorable light, as he defends a woman's right to choose, as he supports Planned Parenthood, as he fights for Roe v. Wade being codified. Joe Biden's a hypocrite. And here's what gets me about the Catholic Church, and I apologize to our largely Catholic group on Magic 95.9, but hey, your relationship with God is your relationship with God. Your conduit to him through the church has been sullied through the last decades. The Vatican doesn't speak out against these things anymore either. Hell, the Episcopal Church, which no doubt is a spinoff of Catholicism, has nothing to do with the Roman Catholic Church. I get that. They've got gay priests. I mean, why not just have a spinoff of the Baptist Church? Maybe it would just be more honest. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying we don't glorify it. Have a spinoff of the Baptist Church. Oh, that's Pastor Steve. He's a philanderer. Yeah, he and his wife have an open marriage. It's not cheating for them. That's just how they choose to live. He says he was born that way. Every now and then he likes to sleep with a little boy too, but it's no big deal because he admits it. That's our pastor. If you quit calling sin, sin. If you quit calling truth, truth. If you decide you're going to change the rules to get more people to come to your church, you're a hypocrite. Joe Biden is the penultimate hypocrite. Rebut that, Mr. McNally. Welcome to my truth. Mark Kurt says it was a good test for both teams. We edged them by a field goal. Good. I'm glad to see us kicking, really. We held them without a first down for their entire first series of plays. That's good. The varsity level, I have a son that plays on the JV. He's doing a really good job. It's JV football. I'm not, what do you get? Do 2 years on JV? You don't get a letter jacket? You get like a vest? I don't know. I don't care. I didn't do much JV time. You look at it and you go, are they getting better? Are they getting reps? It's all that really matters. So, Ricky King says all the U.S. would do is put some serious embargoes on Russia. There may be some truth to that. But at the same time, Ukraine just decides to send a drone to downtown Moscow. A, it got through. B, it hit a government target. C, it probably said made in Tennessee on the side of it. That makes me nervous. I don't know the end game. I know that a crazy geriatric man named Vlad Putin, who hates the United States of America almost as much as the Democrat Party, he sits and giggles as we implode upon ourselves. He points at our lack of morality to his own people and says, that's what they call freedom? Disrespecting their families, ignoring their natural gender? Boy, it'd be so easy to rail against the U.S. on the global stage. We are Sodom and Gomorrah with cable. We make TV shows about it. We market to it. Percentage-wise, minuscule. I always say that. The problem, like for Black America, they've been passed up. Transgenders are more important in this country than blacks. Fact. You don't see Bud Light marketing to black people. They don't care what black people drink. But they want all the gay people to love that Bud Light. Come on down. We're having festivities at the beach. Wear your rainbow singlet, Bill. It's crazy town. Interesting. If Black Lives Matter wasn't so corrupt, it would almost be embraceable for white people. You don't hear anything about those folks, the ladies that head that thing up. They just have big houses somewhere, and nobody cares what they do. They've gotten away with all of it. News break. So this was on my list to share with you. The Blind Side author is a guy named Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis grew up. He wasn't an author. He grew up around the Toohey family. I don't know why the story intrigues me. I think it's because I look at Michael Orr as tremendously ungrateful and probably a really bad money manager. He has claimed that the Tooheys, at least immorally, profited off of him, didn't include him in their share. The movie grossed over $300 million worldwide. I think the number's low. Michael Lewis said Michael Orr should join the Hollywood screenwriters strike because nobody, including me, made a bunch of money off that movie. Hollywood made money off that movie. He said, I lived that experience. I saw the way they showered him with love, affection, and money, and opportunity, and got him into Ole Miss. He said for him, he goes, I'm sad for the state of mind he must now be in to react this way to people who loved him so much. Kind of gives you the perspective. Michael Orr went to the NFL, made a bunch of money, spent it, and now wants to go back like the prodigal son and attack the family that was his benefactor. It's a pretty common story. Some things are so open and shut. I'll get to one after the break. You'll go, man, you know what? I look back. Yep, Wade Carter was right again. Tell you what I'm right about, the chopping block. Get by there today, buy a brisket, boudin, fresh boudin. They make it. They'll say, do you want it spicy, really spicy, or you're crazy to eat it spicy? They've got it. Pan sausage. I went in the other day, fresh made pan sausage, peppers, onions, it's great stuff. Went home, I just made big old patties of it and just cut them up. Wonderful stuff. Get by the chopping block today, get your weekend going right. Wagyu beef, New York strips, ribeyes, fillets, beautiful, whole pieces of meat. Go by a good old-fashioned butcher shop and get what you want. White Trash Services, 550-1826. Let BJ Nelson and her team take care of all your trash, your rubbish needs. Remind you of White Trash Site Services. You got a piece of property with an old building on it. You want it torn down. You want it hauled off. You want the land graded. That's what they do. They do it well. They're working daily on the new project downtown on the De Leon Plaza. Working on that new stage and setting that's going to be done down there. Salvaging every brick to put it back the way it was. 550-1826. USA Concrete Coating, that's 578 Home. Let Charlie Garcia help you. Dress up that drab slab. You've got a concrete floor. It's got oil stains on it, cracks in it. Everybody's garage has that. They'll steam clean it, acid clean it, fill the cracks, put down a tough as nails polyurethane coat, then with crack, stick, peel, or fade, and you will love it. You will love it. Let's see what Donnie said. She sent me a story here. I don't know what she's doing. It says post unavailable. Went Services. I used Went Services yesterday. Had this public service announcement. Had one of these fluorescent lights in my utility room. Went into Lowe's. Grabbed the T8. Has those two little prongs. T8 thin tube. Took them home, plugged them in. I didn't know. If it's not an LED fixture, you can't just put LED lights in it like you can a light socket. So, turns out my ballast was bad. I called Went. I said, I'm in over my head, man. I don't know what to do. Aaron Went laughed at me. Yesterday afternoon, a crew came out, Went Services, taking care of you. Fantastic, folks. It works again. It's bright in there. It's like it had gone from 4 little bulbs down to 2 little bulbs, and they finally both went out. Now it's got 4 again. Man, it's like sunroom. Go in there and get it done. So I told you I would tell you about another time that Wade and Carter was spot on correct. So let me give you this. Pete, you've never been more wrong than what you said, and I'll deal with that in a minute. You remember the girl in Mississippi, I think it was, Alabama, one of them over there, nursing student, 25, abducted, saw the baby walking down the highway, blah, blah, blah. Now she's in People magazine. Why I made the whole thing up. The fact that a national publication, global publication like People magazine would make up such a thing or would promote such a story is ridiculous. You can lie your way to 15 minutes of fame. It could bring us back to Joe Biden, but that's not the point. We told you back then, something doesn't, Lucy, got some explaining to do. Something don't sound so right, Lucy. Oh, Ricky. There you have it. We were right. Peter McNally says, separation between church and state is still the reason we all live here. Leave denominations out of your comments. That would be a better approach. That comes from our remote producer, Peter McNally. Separation of church and state, Pete, has nothing to do with politicians being hypocrites. Separation of church and state just simply means that Congress will never impose a national religion on America. Exactly like, Pete, the Church of England dominated Parliament. Exactly the reason it's in the Constitution. Has absolutely nothing to do with not having prayer in school, not having the 10 Commandments on public property, not being guided by godly principles. It simply means that Congress will never make a law telling you how you have to worship your God. That has nothing to do with an elected official saying, if Jimmy Carter says, I'm a Christian, I'm a Baptist from Georgia, and you find out later that he's running women through the back door like JFK, he's a hypocrite. I can't help it. It doesn't matter what religion he is. Get it? Work with me. So glad to be able to educate on a Friday. Smart people, too. They get lost. They're politics. Oh, he's so much better than Trump. I'll excuse anything he does. I'll never get upset with him. He's my president. Doesn't matter that he's a horrible, horrible human being. Good morning, Darren Valechek. Speaking of good people. Don Nicole says it's so nice to have light in our laundry room again. There you go. Uh-oh. This could be a trick question. Callie Frommy says, how many Longhorns does it take to change a light bulb? No kidding. That's me. You can ask Dawn. I was severely frustrated because it turns out that we were doing it right. We were just putting the wrong bulb in there, and then it didn't work. Yeah, Darren says now you can really see the stripes in Brent's underwear. Oh, there you go. Scott Tompkins says, shake my head. She'll get a movie deal and make millions from it. The lady in Louisiana. Patrick Strauss says, why I don't post anymore. I check all of Brent's boxes. I'm Aggie and Catholic. He's always down on both. Well, one's a cult, the College Station crowd. And Patrick, I know you're being silly, but that's not fair. I'm not down on Catholicism. I'm down on certain Catholics. There's a big difference. I'm not down on Protestants. I'm down on philandering, gospel compromising, anything to get people in the door. I don't care. If you get to the point where you refuse to call sin, sin. Without sin, you don't need Jesus Christ. Fact. Preach it, Brent. If nothing is a sin anymore, why do we need God at all? And it's can you believe that it's politically incorrect right now? Right now, it's okay to say, dude, if you're a minor attracted person, you've got a mental disorder. You are messed up. You want to sleep with a 12-year-old boy? You got problems. And everybody nods their head. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. But just 25 years ago, it was like, dude, if you've got urges to sleep with me and your name's Steve, stay in the closet. And everybody was like, yeah, yeah. Now they want to make him Episcopal priest. The erosion of morality in our country, morality doesn't mean what's right. The erosion of mores, tenets, ideas of right and wrong has definitely devolved in my lifetime. There's no getting around it. Can't deny it. You live with it. I'm not saying it should turn your head, but I go to New York City tomorrow and me and Ash are walking down the street holding hands. Nobody cares. And maybe that's fine, but they used to. So when I'm walking down the street in Victoria and I see a man walking along holding the hand of a 5-year-old boy, it warms my heart. That's a good dad. That's a good granddad. That's a nice uncle. In 10 years, will that be the case? Boy, that little boy's cute. Is that what's going to be the norm? Is that Brent casting judgment on people? We need to decide what's right and what's wrong. I'd love a call. Call and tell me how I'm wrong. 894-4020. Because I ain't scared of you. I know what I believe and I know why I believe it. And I don't think that's why Patrick Strauss doesn't post anymore. He knows I love him. But if that's the case, so be it, Pat. Take your tolerance. Enjoy yourself. Good morning, Sheriff Louderback. Same thing. Sheriff Louderback always reminds me of the border. Hey, man, we used to be a sovereign nation. We had a border. We let in 1 million people a year. What a great country we are. They have a process. They go, they present their papers, they come in. Everybody likes them. Not anymore. Now, Republicans are just so hateful because they refuse to let you willy-nilly cross the river and just come on in. Republicans are so mean. I don't agree. I don't agree. I'd build that wall in a heartbeat with no guilt. It would be a huge funnel to freedom. The wall would funnel you to the legal points of entry. If you qualify to enter this country, you're not a felon, you're not, whatever. Come on in. Mark Zapata, I haven't read this. I'll read it out loud with no fear. You just stated why we are the current, I apologize. You just stated why we are the current day Sodom and Gomorrah. People like Mr. McNally helped drive God out of our public space. Once again, separation of church and state was to protect citizens from a national religion and provide citizens with the right to express their faith. The Catholic Church has never capitulated to the culture like many religions have. The failures in the church are fallen, sinful men, not the doctrine of the church. Could not agree more. I agree 100%. Some of my best friends, including Peter McNally apparently, are Catholic. Nothing wrong with being Catholic. I just said they're hypocrites in the form of Joe Biden. That's how the conversation started. Joe Biden could be Presbyterian. He'd be a hypocrite. He could be Lutheran. He'd be a hypocrite. He could be Baptist. He'd be a hypocrite. Get it? It's not an indictment of Catholicism. However, none of the other religions I mentioned have a power figure revered third only to Jesus, Mary, and then the Pope himself. And the Pope has never, ever, this Pope has never called out Joe Biden. Why hasn't the Pope from the walled city of the Vatican not cried out and said, "Woe to America, you are out of God's will"? Why is that? Why has not the leader of the, I think probably still, with the exception maybe of Islam, the largest religion on the planet, largest denomination of Christianity, I still believe, unless maybe Baptists are bigger, I'm not positive. Baptists clearly have no leader. They fight amongst themselves all the time. Why is it that that gentleman has never lashed out at the U.S.? Ralph Salazar Sr. says, sin has been around so long, people think it's right. I agree. There you go, Darren. Darren Valechek comes in, engineer, smart guy. Here's how he looks at it. The problem is people are not thinking sin is okay. They are making sin okay. But sin is a word you get. If you're in a group of people and you say, you know, that's just sinful. Oh, you're one of those religious right people. Are you a fanatic? No. Just this is right and that is wrong. Well, it may be wrong for you, but don't judge me. Have you met my date? He's 7. That doesn't make it wrong for me. I'm attracted to this person. At least I'm not wearing a dress. It's coming. And people like Peter McNally, who's an older gentleman, he's going, oh, that'll never be accepted. That'll never be accepted. Peter McNally, you cringed the first time you saw Billy Crystal on Soap. You know you did. I remember my daddy saying, what you laugh at today, you accept tomorrow. True story. True story. You see where Donald Trump, something I don't agree with, people say that we're extreme right-wing radio program. Those people are called ignorant. Donald Trump's trying to push back his trial to 2026. And I'm sitting here going, okay, put on my objective hat. If Donald Trump wasn't, my guy, if he wasn't the way I think politically, how would I feel about Donald J. Trump? Does it make sense that a man who's been accused of multiple felonies can just, let's just hold this down until after I get reelected president, and then I'll have all the resources of the government to fight the government? I don't buy that. I think Donald Trump needs to step up and face the music right now. I think if Donald Trump wanted to show America that he's the resolute leader that he claims to be, he would say, I'm not hiding from you. I'm not postponing anything. Let's get it on. Meet me at the courthouse. Let's go. I'm armed with the truth. Let's have this fight today. But he isn't doing that, folks. He's kind of going, where's the P? Let's hide the P. Where's the P? Where's the P? There's been a lot of technicalities, a lot of innuendo. Cody Bauman, thank you, sir. He says, best show ever. Preach it. Not trying to preach, I'm just willing to tell you, I don't have to prepare to tell you what I believe or why I believe it. And I don't vacillate, and I'm not wishy-washy. There you have it. Peter McNally says, growing up in South Texas, I witnessed much prejudice between certain religions. We've made huge progress in that area. I don't disagree at all. I grew up a little Baptist kid. I like to tell people now I'm a Christian saved by grace through faith alone, who happens to worship in a Baptist church. It's mostly because I couldn't do all that genuflect, and I didn't know, do you go north, south, east, or west? I just didn't know it. I didn't know what to do. I enjoy Catholic Church, and I've heard some beautiful messages in Catholic Church. I've also gone to Catholic Church and heard the same message over and over again. But I agree that all of the churches dumbing down who they are in the name of getting along is kind of silly. I mean, either you believe what you believe or you don't. So, I don't know. You have that. I am concerned about Donald Trump. I'm concerned about his age. I'm concerned that it's a heavy burden. Whether he's guilty or not, the man's under a lot of duress. And I believe greatly unfairly, he's been under that duress since the day he walked down the stairs. Since his first day in office, they were trying to impeach him. Nobody ever gave the guy a chance to govern. He was an outsider. He didn't come up through the ranks. He didn't know where all the bodies were buried. And the ones that he uncovered, he exposed publicly. To see, with no regard to party, to see men like John Cornyn, Mitch McConnell, especially Joe Biden, quote unquote, succeed in politics, irks me. Thomas Jefferson would challenge Joe Biden to a duel and kill him. He would. It is loony town that we refer to these people as our leaders. Republican, Democrat, do not care. Don't care. They're terrible people. Andy, that may be a subject for another day. Scott Tomko says, the thing that keeps me, and this is a key point. Good morning, Mr. Jim Hartman. It's a good Christian witness to me right there. Scott Tomko says, the thing that keeps me from being concerned about Trump is Biden. And Scott, I think I know exactly what you're saying there, and I can't disagree. But for far too long in our country, again, I go back, the older I get, the more I go back to the wisdom of my father. My dad used to tell me, it's been a long time since I voted for someone instead of essentially against his opponent. And it's been even longer since the winner I chose was a Democrat. My dad proudly voted for Ronald Reagan twice. I think he probably voted for George Bush the first. Talk about a Biden-esque, entitled, political family. You have any idea how many people, how many hundreds of people relaxed when George H.W. Bush breathed his last? Do you have any idea how many bodies W not only planted, but how many bodies he knew where they were. And folks, I voted for the guy. But man, through the years, I have learned this guy was the head of the CIA. He was involved in everything. Like with no real humor, George H.W. Bush knew who killed Kennedy and why and who was involved and what happened. So I'm going to read this because we have a little side debate going here. Andy Rokovich says, we've talked for months about how VISD is spending money and how to allocate funds. It's time to start talking about their role in the county appraisal board and that debacle. Every issue we have here in Victoria could be solved with 2 words, term limits. Tammy Keeling, someone who ought to know, longtime former school board member, says trustees are not on the appraisal board. So there's a little side action going on in the comments. While I wait for the next volley, let me tell you about the folks that power the Wade and Carter program. I'll sit here and tell you. So my friend, mentor, big brother, Jim Hartman's listening in. I've never claimed or taken any great solace in the idea that Jim Hartman agrees with everything we say here on the program. But I can tell you that whether we're right or wrong, he's committed to the format, to your ability to call. You've never been denied the opportunity to call me and say whatever you want. 361-894-4020. I'm here to facilitate the conversation. If you can formulate a sentence, if you can state what you have to say succinctly, and if you're willing to take the rebuttal with respect, call at any time. The VCS companies make that possible. Right here. It's an iPhone 14 that I got. This is actually a 12 Pro Max that I got from the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer. The TV behind us, provided by the VCS companies. For all your communication needs, reach out to the VCS companies just inside the loop off of Kerr Boulevard. They power sheriff's offices. They also do a one-off ranch radio. Mount that thing right on the transmission hump in the middle of your F-250. Pick up the phone. Call across the ranch. Cheswick Furniture, over 100 years. VCS, over 50. Allen's Regular Service, 50 years, 578-6300. Cheswick, over 100. Cheswick and Love make your house a home. Find out today why you just always do better at Cheswick. Go by and ask for Bobby Leon, direct descendant. Go check him out. Be thrilled. Palace Bingo announcement coming. Friends meet friends. That's coming. It'll be here. We don't know when yet. Don't push it. Just be there. Gray Barn today, Friday. Great day to get in and see Cheryl. 920-6803. Cheryl can help you with flower arrangements, wedding. She's not a wedding planner. She's a wedding decorator. Number one, that makes her less expensive. Number two, it makes her more focused on her craft. Gray Barn Mercantile right there on Airline at Laurent. Go by and see her. The law offices of Steve Kidder. Let Steve Kidder help you with any legal wranglings you become immersed in. Adoption, divorce, prenuptial. Some folks here in town should have had a prenup. What goes around comes around. Reach out to Steve Kidder today. AJ's Detailing, AJ Villanueva. Great guy. Smart, young, hardworking. Got a guy named Blake over there as an interior specialist. Those of you that work, like Mr. Jim Hartman, has a truck, drives it to and from work, drives it to and from the ranch. Let AJ clean it up. You'll be proud of it again. I'm going to interrupt commercial notes. Bring on my friend Pete McNally. Good morning, sir. I'm blessed, sir. Thank you for calling. Are you in Galveston today?
Am I where? No, I'm in Beaumont.
In Beaumont. Okay.
Yeah.
And Beaumont is home, correct?
Is where?
Beaumont is home. You don't live in Galveston. You live in Beaumont.
No, I live in Beaumont. Yeah.
You still got mosquitoes over there? Or is it too hot for them?
It's no, they're not as bad as they were because there's no water. But other than that, it's like Victoria. It's just really hot and humid lately, and it's kind of tough on an old guy like me. You normally walk 3 miles a day.
You're not that old. You're very.
Well, you
fit.
refer to my age.
Well,
I
have to. I have to do that. You know,
I know that.
That's part of the shtick. I see one of the deerlings just walked in. Talk to me, sir. Take me to task.
I was just giving you. I'm just going to give you my opinion. I think using the word "a good Catholic boy" is kind of an overused word, and I don't think that's a good way to address what's going on in Washington.
Well, I don't think that's a good way for the president to address himself, correct? I mean, he has referred to himself as such.
I agree. The thing is, I grew up Catholic, you grew up Baptist, and I can remember back in the late 50s, early 60s, there was a lot of disharmony between those two religions.
Yes, sir.
And I dated a Catholic girl. I dated a Baptist girl in high school, and boy, I remember she said, "Whatever you do, don't you tell my grandmother that your dad's in the beer business when she comes to visit."
I was going to say, isn't that funny? Like when you say, so when we were kids, it was, well, so the Catholics, to me, as a child, there was never any animosity, and most of my friends were Catholic, still are, just because of the sheer numbers. But the idea was, as a Baptist kid, I was like, well, Daddy, what's the difference? Or hey, Sunday school teacher, what's the difference between us and Catholics? And then, by the time I was in high school, they can drink and dance. That was the only difference. I mean, that was the difference. And then I became the guy that enjoyed the joke of, wherever there's 4 Baptists, there's a 5th. Baptists don't acknowledge each other at the liquor store, that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of humor to the hypocrisy of denominational religion that I've always felt, and it always gets people's attention. I'll tell them, hey, look, organized religion is a tool of the devil. It's how he keeps us all from talking about Jesus Christ. We spend all our time arguing about the differences between our religions instead of talking about the consistency of our faith. It's a very dangerous slope. How are you doing, sir? So many of our listeners, they don't get it that love-hate doesn't even describe our relationship. You're a dear friend of mine.
No, not at all.
You're a dear friend of mine. I love having you. I love the debate. I love arguing with you. And then because we run an hour-long program, we have to sometimes really hit hard on the points. But you're a respected educator. I'm glad that you're happily retired. Tell folks about what you do every day and what's going on.
Well, the only thing I've done that's probably that means something to me more than anything is I substitute in the schools in the Lumberton ISD and the Beaumont ISD, and it's amazing. It's the similarities between Victoria and Beaumont, and then Lumberton, and I mean they're just there's a lot of divide here also, and it's doing nothing but hurting the children in my opinion. But anyway, they're trying to get it all worked out.
Yep. No, we have big plans for the weekend. You're just going to hang around in Beaumont? It's too hot to do anything.
Well, I haven't been playing much golf. I've got a bad left foot, so I probably I'm watering my yard, and I'm told by the water police when to water my yard and how long I can water it. I'm trying to avoid the $2,000 fine they threaten you with.
Well, they drive around and they look for the greenest grass, and they know you got to be violating, right? Because everybody's grass ought to be brown. Now, I'm going to throw one in for our listeners because I have Mr. Dearlam sitting here in the studio. I will tell you that if you're in the Victoria area and you'll get by Dearlam Feed, you can pick up the 21-7-14. We call it the Wade and Carter blend, but they have, as proprietary as fertilizer can be, they have their blended that is ideal for our soil conditions and for our local grasses. And if you'll go buy Dearlam Feed and put that down, I say put it down on the flag days and Easter. You've got Labor Day coming up. It's time for another coat. Put it down and let's go. I'd love for you to come see us, and we could put you. I'll tell you what you do. Come over and stay with Dawn and me, and I'll take you over to see Dr. Andrew Young. He'll fix your foot, and then we'll get you out there to play some golf.
Okay, that sounds like a good deal.
Yes, sir. We love
Well,
you.
you tell everybody hello. We miss Victoria.
I will,
We'll
sir.
get through there.
God bless you, sir. I
There's not a
appreciate
good
you.
radio show here at all in the mornings. I'm really amazed there's not a good one. And,
Well, people say there's not a good one here either.
I've visited with a couple of radio people here, and they don't seem too interested in getting anything going. So anyway,
there you go. Turn them on to Wade and Carter.
Okay, I will.
We love you,
good
brother.
Luck. Have
you
a good weekend. God bless. Bye.
You too, sir. Bye-bye. So that's our friend Peter McNally. Would you come join me? I'm gonna make a move here. Tell folks who you are and what you do.
I'm Brian Dearlam. Good to see you, my
Good
friend.
to see
How you doing?
brother.
Glad
I'm
to
good.
be here.
So this is one. There really are Dearlams. I talk about it every day for over 50 years. The little gin that could, but the Dearlam Feed folks are a family, and the business has gone back and forth from side to side and through the business. And look, Red Funnel, baby. You got them in stock again?
We got plenty of them. I knew it was going to be
go.
a Red Funnel day when I came over here, so I got one over here for you.
I thought it was a typo.
It's a typo?
How you make any money over there? The price on this is $0.99. 99 cents. It's worth the trip to Americana.
You know, somebody told me recently on the show here that they use one of these Red Funnels to save like a $50 bottle of liquor. I think
that's Ash.
Was that Ash?
That's
I think if we charged by value, we'd probably charge a lot more than that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are things? Now, you do other things. You're not active daily in the feed business. You do politics, don't you?
I do policy. I would say more policy.
Okay, tell folks about that.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Victoria. I went to St. Joe, class of '88, Texas A&M, and all of that. So
you got that from a Texas grad right there.
Good. That's good to hear. Good
part
to
of
hear.
being a sponsor.
Exactly. But I went to Texas A&M, and then after, of course, I grew up. My Uncle David managed a store all those years. Grew up in the feed business, and ran all over this county and all this country. And my dad told me go off and learn something, so I went off and learned something, and I worked for many years for Koch Industries. I lived in Kansas, Montana, Idaho, all in agriculture. So I've been in agriculture my whole life, my whole career. And candidly, at some point by the late '90s, like many of folks that come on your show, I kind of didn't like the direction the country was heading in many ways. So I called a bunch of my friends out in D.C. and I said, "Hey, I want to go make a difference." And everybody told me, "Well, if you want to do something in D.C., you got to be in D.C." So I moved out there.
That's a true statement too. And there's so much bustle inside the Beltway. You've got to be there.
You got to be there. And so I packed up my bags. I didn't have a job when I went there. And I tell everybody I went out there with a few months' savings, a polished-up resume, and a bucket full of ambition.
There you go.
And over the course of my time out there, I worked for the Cattlemen's Association for about 7 years, representing ranchers. And there's a lot of them here, and there's a lot of issues that the beef industry has. I ended up working for the House Agriculture Committee, taking care of all issues in agriculture. I ended up working for Cargill for a number of years, and I now work for ADM Archer Daniels Midland. And I work, ag-related issues.
So the first question comes to mind for me that'll relate to our listeners. Where are we headed? It seems to me that the beef industry, the cattlemen, are under attack. They're under attack from those that want to have lab-produced meat. They're under attack from what I call the greenies, that, the cow flatulence is killing the environment. I mean, which is a joke. But how do you see the state of the beef industry in 10 years?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of issues, and these attacks and these things come from all directions, and it's different parts of the country. Right now we've got drought, and it's difficult. You've got to manage your herd through the drought. You do have these national related issues. Environmental groups have long been after the beef industry for whether it was or for example. On environmental issues, how they're produced, land use issues, endangered species.
Well, fertilizer runoff, water damage, all that stuff.
All of that stuff. So you got to manage through that. I mean, it's a day in, day out job. So people ask, you got people working in Washington. Well, people work in Washington to defend your interests.
That's right.
On the alternative meat protein, meat, fake meat, or whatever you want to call it, alternative proteins, what you end up with is, people want to compete, and you've got to go out there and compete every day to make sure the product you're producing is something that people want to eat every day. There's a lot of regulatory work going on how meat is labeled, how the competing products that people are competing are labeled, and really what it's about day in, day out is just being out there making sure that your voice is heard so that you're competing on a level playing field with people that are out there.
I was roughly this many years old before I knew that Angus beef just meant the cow was black. I mean, really, I didn't know.
Exactly.
So what I started doing, and I see Brother Gary Moses over here, one thing I started doing is going to some great programs put on by our ag extension agent, Matt Boucher. Mm-hmm. And Matt has done yeoman's work for years here in the community, but he helps put on every year. They have these educational, they're directed at the local ranchers, whether they're talking, some of those guys have to go in and get continuing ed in order to keep their ability to, immunize their animals, or, the stuff that ranchers have to do where you can't have a vet come out every week. The ability to spray certain pesticides and things, they have to have continuing ed. And my father-in-law, Joey Stockbauer, they have acreage and animals, and so I went with him. And there was a guy that came in that was like the Pickett Dean of beef studies at A&M. I mean, he was a guru, and he talked about meat labeling. Mm-hmm. And some of it is, there's organic, and then there's free range, mm-hmm. and then there's this, and some of it doesn't always mean what you think mm-hmm. it means. And, it's fascinating. And I think that it's funny, to me, there's certain things, how much time I spend on a computer and how little I know about one. Mm-hmm. Reboot, does that mean turn it off? I mean, I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's funny how much we eat and I guess I just give my life to HEB. I just show up, and if the chicken's there, that's the chicken I buy. Yeah. So I think there's a great education opportunity.
And what you find is the food industry and agriculture and elements of the food industry are very highly regulated space. In the feed industry, obviously I grew up here in Victoria. Family still owns a feed store. Feed industry is a very regulated space. And a lot of rules around the products that go into it, a lot of regulations on the food side. So you just got to be active day in, day out on how that on those issues related to it, but then also looking down the road, making sure that you're able to compete, that people that are competing against you don't use that against you, as well as making sure that you can.
Are you just in town for a visit, or
no? I come. My mother and my brother-in-law and my sister. We own the business, and Jackie does a great job.
Oh, Jackie's awesome.
My mom's there all the time, so we're down here.
There's a couple of cats. There's whatever you need,
cats,
man.
Some chickens, some guineas that run around there. They had some chickens laying clutches of eggs. So
I tell people that I can't tell you that Deerland Feed's got everything, but if they don't have it, you probably don't need it.
Probably not.
And it's certainly something to be proud of. Mm-hmm. You've got, when you walk in the store, at the same time that you've got cutting edge chemicals and cutting edge things that farmers and ranchers need, it is also like walking back in time. Mm-hmm. And that's a good feeling. Mm-hmm. You walk in there, the smells, and it's a unique environment.
I mean, it's great. I'm proud of the place, proud that we've had it open for over 54 years now, I believe. Back to 1969, I grew up in the place, and proud that it's still in the family, and it's great to have customers come in all the time, and they say, "Hey, I've been coming in here as long as they can remember. They know all my uncles, all my cousins, all my family.
They know where all the bodies are buried.
Know where all the bodies are buried, and even friends and young people say, I came in here with my daddy and my mama.
That's a true story right there.
Grandparents, and I hear it every day, day in, day out.
Well, I remember Victoria before Lowe's and Home Depot, and I can remember my daddy saying, "Come on, son, we're going downtown."
Yeah, so we're staying, keeping active.
It's a beautiful place.
Having everything that everybody needs to, lawn and garden. Believe it or not, rats are pretty bad. There's construction going on downtown, so we got people coming in getting more rat bait than you can imagine. Plenty of cattle feed to manage through this drought. So
we're proud and blessed to have you as a sponsor, and I hope that we do you right every day. And
absolutely.
We appreciate you guys. It is top of the hour. We've got to get out. Brian, great to visit with you,
Good
sir,
to see
for
you.
sure. Yes, sir.
Take care.
Tell everybody I'm going to steal this funnel.
There you go. It's
Add
all yours.
that to my ticket.
There you go.
All right. We love you guys. Folks, that's going to wrap us up this week. I encourage you to go read some of the comments on the side. Tammy and Andrew having a nice conversation. Some important facts there. And great to hear from Pete McNally today. You guys be well and have a great day. Goodbye, folks.